So would y'all please give Mr. Brandon Novak a round of applause. Yes, sir. All right, bro. Thank you, bro.
May 25th, 2015. I found myself at a position in life where I was divinely inconvenienced in just such a way that the God of my understanding, he showed up and he created just a big enough gap between me and the last speedball that I was about to inject into my arm to allow me to have a moment of clarity. And for the first time in my life, me, myself, Brandon Novak, was unaccepting of the outcome that I had continuously created for myself. May 25th, 2015, I found myself walking into my 13th inpatient treatment center. I had lost count of outpatients and detoxes. My mother had bought me a plot. People had began to take life insurance policies out on me. May 24th, 2015, the day before I walked into, God willing, my last treatment center, I found myself coming to after being on life support at Mercy Hospital in Baltimore City for 7 days. I had been medevaced to 4 different hospitals in 4 different states from 4 different overdoses. At the beginning of my alcoholism, at the beginning of my addiction, my mother, God bless her soul, who is the MVP of my story, who is the reason why I am here today before you beautiful people, she would walk across the street to her church in Baltimore City, and she would get on her knees and she would pray to God, please, God, do not let tonight be that night. Please, God, for the love of God, do not let tonight be that night that I receive that dreaded phone call that no mother ever wants about their child, stating that I've succumbed to my addiction, I'm dead, and I'm no longer here on earth. Please, God, do not let tonight be that night. Fast forward, I'm a 38-year-old homeless heroin addict who wants to kill himself on a daily basis. But you see, I'm terrified to hurt myself in the process. I'm terrible at suicide because I keep waking up. I'm at this position in life where I am so low the curb looks like a skyscraper. My days are now spent standing on the corner of Eastern Avenue and Patterson Park, prostituting my body to secure enough finances to acquire just one more bag of dope. My nights are spent sleeping in a shooting gallery in West Baltimore. Everything that I own in this world consists of 8 scarves, 2 jackets, 3 socks, a stick of deodorant, a needle, a spoon, and a restraining order that my mother had served against me. But her prayer has transitioned. She still walks across the street to the same church, and she gets on her same knees and she prays to God, please, God, for the love of God, let tonight be that night. Let tonight be the night that I finally receive that call that my son has succumbed to his addiction, just so I can know once and for all that he was safe and no one will ever harm him again. Please, God, let tonight be the night that I get that call. How the fuck did I get here? Because I don't know about anybody in this auditorium, but as a child, I had goals, I had dreams, I had ambitions, I had intentions. I was going to be somebody. More importantly, who I was not going to be was my father. How did I get here? What I've learned today is that my life is all in retrospect. And today, my life is live forward and learn backwards. So it's really easy for me to look back to see how I got here. You see, I get here because I sit there with a closed mind and a closed heart comparing out. Because I don't know about you, but when I walk into any kind of room and I put my hand up and I say, "Hi, my name is Brandon. I'm an addict. Hi, my name is Brandon. I'm an alcoholic." All that means for me is that I'm defiant by nature, I hate authority, and I refuse to conform. Because I don't know about any of you in this room, but I've possessed this one job for the majority of my life. And this one job that I've been able to hold throughout the majority of my life, you see, it always places me in positions that I don't want to be in. And it always allows me to feel feelings that I don't want to feel. And that job consists of knowing everything. So on a rare handful of occasions, I end up in a program that literally has the ability to save my life. And they politely suggest to me what I might want to do in order to save my life. And I don't know about you, but that's where I politely suggest. Because I know. But the scariest thing about my story is that I've done some things in life that one might accredit to success, happiness, potentially even dream of doing. I'm here to talk to you for the next 20 minutes, and tell you about my story. I'm not going to tell you about you. I'm not going to pretend to understand the pain that you've endured or the journey that you've taken to land in this seat. I will not disrespect you or me that way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you what my 22-year dance with alcohol and drugs looked like. And what I would recommend is that if you can find more similarities than you can differences, it might make sense to pay attention. But if not, that is okay too. I just gave you a whole lot in a very short period of time. So I think that it only makes sense to better understand that ending that I just gave you. I bring you back to the beginning. And what that looked like for me is this. I come from a very loving home in Baltimore City with a really loving family that did the best that they could with what they had. And for me, what that looked like is this. My mother, she got her very first job at the age of 15 at Mercy Hospital in Baltimore City, drawing blood, a phlebotomist, if you will. And she worked her way up the ladder, recently retired after 53 years of gainful employment, second longest employer in Mercy Hospital history, as a nuclear physicist. I have a brother, right? And my brother wanted to be an attorney his whole life. And by the time he passed the bar and he graduated law school, he was literally blinded in student debt. He had no idea what his next move was going to be to get himself out of the position that he had created for himself. And I don't know about you, but I can relate to that. Today, currently, he's an attorney who works in the White House practicing pensions and benefits. I had a father who was around just enough to let me know that he was not around, right? He never held a job a day in his life. And he taught me one thing in life, and that was if and when I went to prison, how to conduct myself. Ran with the Hells Angels, rather unsavory kind of fella, if you will. And ultimately, he acquired the liking of crack cocaine, and his body shut down. He's no longer with us. Right? So from a very young age, I understood the effects that drugs and alcohol have on an individual. Because my father, Jerome, was the nicest guy in the world. Everyone loved Jerome except his family. Right? And Jerome was a great cook. And when he would come home to cook dinner at 5, like we were in for a good night. But when he didn't come home to make dinner and we heard him and his biker buddies pull in the driveway at 3 or 3:30 and his key hit the lock, we shook like leaves because we knew what we were in for, and it was something that no child should ever be in for. So from a very young age, I could understand and recognize the difference that takes place upon an individual ingesting a drink or a drug, right? I could see clear as day right from wrong. I live with that after school special of what not to fucking become. But I don't know about you, my addiction does not stand a chance against logic, right? And as a matter of fact, my story reads, the smarter that I thought I was, the harder this thing called recovery became. Because I know. My story, not yours. I had goals, I had dreams, I had ambitions, I had intentions. I was going to be somebody. At the ripe young age of 7, I was blessed with the ability for someone to place a skateboard in my hand. And the moment that skateboard touched my hand, I knew I was going to be a professional skateboarder for the rest of my life. I ate it, I breathed it, I slept it, I dreamt it. At 15, I had become it. I was the first skateboarder that was ever endorsed by Gatorade. They fly me to Chicago to the Quaker Oats building where they make Gatorade at the time, and they take me into this big factory, and in one of these offices in this factory is no other than Michael Jordan. And I'm now doing this commercial as Michael Jordan. I'm designing my pro model skateboard for Pal Peralta. I'm touring the world with Tony Hawk. Doing some shit at a very young age that one might accredit to success, happiness, maybe even dream of doing. And the reason why I'm getting so descriptive to allow you to see what my upbringing looked like from a child on is to maybe allow you to see that the disease of addiction does not discriminate. Right? From Yale or jail, the White House or the outhouse, the results are all the same. 1 out of 3 people will be affected directly or indirectly. It knows no boundaries. It doesn't give about how much money I have, where I come from, the color of my skin, the God that I serve. As a matter of fact, looking back, I don't even recall the first time that I ingested a drink or a drug. Right? My story isn't that story where I sniffed that line, I hit that pipe, I shot that bag, and I had that aha, that white light moment that I've now found the reason for which I'm going to get the bed for every day. No. As a matter of fact, skateboarding did for me at a very young age what drugs and alcohol ultimately did for me at a later age. Right? You give me that skateboard at the age of 7, you put me in a room with the world's prettiest models, I'll not only believe that they've been waiting for me, but that they're dying to marry me. You see, drugs and alcohol produce that same delusional narrative later on down the road that I would really believe is my reality. Because I don't know about you, but my addiction's job is to disconnect me from reality, to allow me to live in a place where the abnormal becomes the normal. I don't recall the first time I ingested a drink or a drug, but what I do recall, as sure as the day is long, just like me holding this microphone in my hand, is the very first time in my life that anyone ever attempted to get between me and a drink or a drug. And I hate to say it, but anybody stands between me and it must and will go. And it's not personal, it's just business. Right? Because I was raised with a really loving mother who taught me and instilled values in me and showed me how to treat my brothers and sisters with kindness, with empathy, with sympathy, compassion, right? Like I understood right from wrong, but do not fucking catch me when I'm ill. I don't want to do what I have to do to get this next one, but the disease that I possess does not allow me to have the say-so in what I will or will not do. I don't know what brings you here. I'm talking about what keeps me here. And if you haven't picked up yet, I'm very upfront, I'm extremely graphic, and I'm very descriptive with my story. As a matter of fact, I keep my past married to my present because the moment that I forget the pain that brought me through treatment center number 13 doors, begging to God for just one more chance, it's not a matter of if, but when history repeats itself, as it generally does. And what that looks like for me is this. I'm on a tour with a bunch of professional skateboarders, and we go from city to city to state to state. And we do these demos at these skate shops. And at one of these skate shops, another professional skateboarder found a pocket full of drugs on me. And he said, look, Novak, get rid of the drugs or get off the tour. As any good alcoholic does, I take the drugs, I throw them down the sewer, go back to the hotel, meet a young woman at the hotel. She drives me back to said sewer. Short story long, I fished the drugs out of the sewer. I'm now caught with the drugs. I'm kicked off the tour. The very next morning, I'm back at my mother's house, and my bedroom door swings open. It's my mother. She said, Brandon, you have a phone call. She hands me the receiver. I put it to my ear. It's my idol. It's my everything. It's Mr. Tony Hawk. And Tony said, check this out, Novak. We have one of two options we could do with you. We could put you into treatment. You could save your life, and you could continue to skate for Pal Peralta, or you could quit the team. Now, mind you, I've ate it, I've breathed it, I slept it, I dreamt it, I've become it. If I were to have died at that young age, I would have been the happiest child to have ever walked this earth. I'm on the phone with my idol, the equivalent of like a 6-year-old talking to Santa Claus, right? Like the man. And the guy who's my everything is attempting to get between me and a drug. And I don't have a breath of fresh air in my lungs when I said, yeah, Tony, I think it's best if we part ways. I quit. The disconnection from reality that's already taken place, and I haven't even had the pleasure or privilege of walking into my first treatment center yet. About 4 months into this newfound freedom that I was not expecting to have, right? You see, tours are no longer being booked. Flights are no longer being scheduled. Packages of products are no longer being sent to my house. Video parts are no longer being produced, because in order to achieve simple things like that in my life, I have to have some conversations with some high earning individuals and use words like honest and reliable and dependable. And you see, using those words and sentences in my life do not help me get one more. So I avoid it like plague. And around 6 months into this newfound freedom, my mother, God bless her soul, she comes walking into my room. She said, Brandon, I have a great idea for you. I said, what's that, Mom? She said, I want you to go to treatment. I had just turned down this fucking offer from Tony Hawk. What in the world makes you think I'm going to accept it from my mother? And I think about it for a second, and I said, you know what? That's a great idea. A, I have the time. B, I'll report to said treatment center, and I'm going to report back to my mother why I'm not you, nor will I ever be. You see, this is just an overreaction at best. They just caught me at a bad time, on a bad way, in a bad day. Tomorrow is going to be different. Tomorrow is going to be the day that I sort out, I make my wrongs right. Tomorrow is that day. Strap me up to a polygraph. I will have every police officer and CO in the nation pat me on the back saying, Mr. Novak, if everyone was as honest as you are, this world will be a safer place to live in. That's how much I believe when I tell you that tomorrow is going to be the day. But then I wake up tomorrow to repeat yesterday's actions. And I'm stuck in Groundhog's Day for 21 years. As quick as I agree to go to this treatment center, this bag is miraculously appearing before my feet. And the next thing I know, I'm in the back of my mother's car, and they drop me off at the very first treatment center I have the privilege of entering at the ripe young age of 17 in Baltimore City. And as quick as they drop me off, they leave, and I'm met outside by a very nice elderly woman. And she said, "Are you Mr. Novak?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "Come with me, sweetheart." And she takes me into a very similar kind of cafeteria-style setting as this auditorium. But the cafeteria is completely empty. There's not a soul in sight. And she said, "Wait right here, sweetheart. I'll be back to get you." Real bright interrogation-style lights shining down on me. I'm ill as a research monkey. I'm detoxing off of dope. And mind you, I only came in here to prove why I don't belong in here. Focusing on the differences, refuse to accept the similarities, because after all, you people are my father. You know what I can't tell you about that facility? I can't tell you my therapist's name. I can't tell you about that relapse prevention packet that they're shoving down my throat. The healthy and unhealthy boundaries they're trying to instill in me. Because if I could tell you about those things, that means that I can relate to being one of you people, and I want no part. Overreaction at best. Tomorrow is going to be different. I successfully complete that 30-day program. I don't turn 18 in a place like that. How dare that think that he could predict what my future would look like? Typical drug addict who just lies, just like my father, right? Like, this is where I'm at that time. But don't lose me. I turned 20, 21, 23, 24, 25, 27, 28, 29, 32, 34, 35, 37, 38 in a jail or a treatment center. Every year I'd sit on whatever bunk of whatever cell of whatever jail I happened to be in, or whatever bed of whatever treatment center I happened to be in, and I'd think back to that older gentleman, and I would say to myself, maybe, just maybe, if me, myself, Brandon Novak, would have listened to that man with an open mind and an open heart, I would not continuously find myself in this situation year after year after year after year. Meaning that it was like fully self-induced. I have now created or painted this picture for which you view me in. My mother's a nuclear physicist. My brother's an attorney who works in the White House. Father died as a direct result of the disease of addiction. First skateboarder endorsed by Gatorade. Doing a commercial with Jordan. Touring the world with Tony Hawk. Did some shit that some might equate to success. The reality is, at this point in my life, I've now been in 8 inpatient treatment centers. I'm starting to lose count of outpatients and detoxes. Somehow I trip and I fall into those movies Jackass and these TV shows called Viva La Bam. And the role that I play on these projects is literally a junkie's dream. Right? The more outrageous my behaviors become, the more outlandish the antics are, the higher the ratings go, the more money I make, the more dope I shoot. Now, just like in the skateboarding world, in this film industry that I'm now involved with, they say, if we book him the flight, will he make the flight? Let's say we book him the flight and he makes the flight. What condition will he be in when he gets here? Go out on a limb. Let's say we book him the flight and he makes the flight. Is the same thing that's going to happen as it did last time, where we have to kick the bathroom door down at Paramount Studios and find him unconscious with a needle hanging out of his arm? Not a good look for the work world. But you see, I had this alcoholic brain that lies to me in my own voice, and it always makes me believe the unbelievable. And the things that it tells me is that, like, the jackass world needs me. and that it cannot go on without me, and I am a asset. And in reality, it does not need me. It goes on quite fine without me, and you see, I'm nothing but a liability. But you see, I can't see that because I possess that one job that consists of knowing everything. Paychecks are now being diverted to my second ex-fiance because they're in fear that if I start seeing that kind of money, that I will surely be buried in that plot that my mother already bought for me. Why the would I go back to treatment center number 9? What's treatment center number 9 going to teach me that number 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, or 1 is missed? Why waste my or their time? No fool by any means. Pride myself on being an outside the box kind of thinker. I'm the individual that if I believe it, I can see it, not the other way around. But you see, that's one of the many mind fucks that parallel with this thing called recovery, because I'm going to make one blanket statement that absolutely fits everyone in this room. For a fact, I'll bet the bank on it. Quite the contrary, we get here because we're too smart for our own fucking good. And then I'm blessed with the ability to land in a chair that literally is capable of saving my life. But I fuck around and think myself right out of it. Because recovery is one of these things that works so well, I see people stop doing it. Why would I go to treatment center number 10? Give that bed to somebody more deserving, because for some reason, whatever the reason is, I'm not capable of getting what those people in recovery have. I'm just not bridging that gap. But I have a plan. I have a plan. And this plan is sure to work. And I'm sorry, but this plan does not consist of going back to treatment center number 10. I've decided that I'm going to move to Helsinki, Finland. It's literally across the world. They don't even speak my language there. I'm going to go there. I'm going to regroup. I'm going to rebrand. I'm going to reassess. I'm going to reevaluate. I'm going to redo my fucking life because I don't like the results that I'm receiving in Baltimore, Maryland, or Westchester, Pennsylvania. My mother used to tell me as a child, show me who you walk with and I'll tell you who you are. And somewhere along the lines, that transcended into me believing that social acceptability equals personal recovery. So what I thought to be true was that if the home was big enough, the account was high enough, the woman was pretty enough, and the car was new enough, I had to be doing well. But I can't keep a needle out of my arm to save my life. But nonetheless, I jump on a plane from Philadelphia and I fly to Finland, and I get out of the airport, and a car service takes me to the Ritz-Carlton of Helsinki, because like what junkie stays in the Ritz-Carlton? Right? Show me who you walk with, I'll tell you who you are. I get to the hotel, check in, they take my belongings to my room, and I beeline it to the lobby bar. I'm drinking one glass of wine, followed by a second. There's 4 glasses to a bottle. I've now graduated to the bottle. A gentleman slides me a piece of paper with a phone number on it. I dial the number. I'm now having black tar heroin delivered to me in abundance. I'm in the bathroom. I'm doing what I do, and I decide to call my sponsor. And I get Lex on the phone, and I said, Lex, how did this happen? Lex, how did this happen? This is not supposed to be how it is. How did this happen? And Lex said, if you have a second, I'd like to share with you something, but I know you have a really full itinerary, and these international calls can become quite pricey, and I don't want to break your bank. And I said, what, Lex? He said, I guess you skimmed over the part where we discussed the fact that geographical change does not equate to recovery. You see, you can't shake your shadow. You take you with you everywhere you go. I put you in Richmond, you shoot dope. I put you in Finland, you shoot dope. I send you to Florida, you shoot dope. Your mother dies, you shoot dope. Your child's born, you shoot dope. These therapists toss around these fancy word called triggers. Don't they understand that my triggers are when my eyelids open? I will justify why any time, place, feeling, or sensation makes sense to getting high over. He said, if you have another second, I'd like to share with you something else. I put, what, Lex, what? He said, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to stop what you're doing. I want you to take that thing out of your arm, and I want you to lift your face up and stare directly into the mirror in front of you. And I want you to tell me what you see. He said, better yet, don't say a damn word. I'm going to tell you what you see. Right now, at this exact moment, you're staring directly into the eyes of your problem. You are your problem. That needle hanging out of your arm is merely your solution. And at this exact moment in time, you're allowing me to stand between you and your drug. And you feel like a stranger in your own skin, trying to figure out who the fuck let you in, and more importantly, why. And I said, you know what, Lex? These international calls are quite pricey. Because I have this delusional alcoholic brain that will create these narratives as long as they're justifying my relapse behaviors. But I didn't understand any of that in the beginning. As a matter of fact, I got to where I'm at today through process of elimination, meaning that I tried and failed so miserably long at everything I attempted to do that finally, when I was delivered the appropriate amount of pain that provided the willingness unlike anything had ever done, for me to reach out, ask for help, and even crazier, follow through with it. It all made sense. It all made sense. It's like the skies had parted and I had walked across the sea. I could see it for what it was. I could see why I continued to get beat the every time I stepped in the ring with my opponent. Right? Like I'm not talking like a skin knee or a fat lip. Like I'm talking like teeth pulled one at a time, ears severed, nose sliced, skinned a lot. Like that's the beating that I got every time I stepped in the ring with my addiction. And I couldn't understand why, because I'm a really intelligent guy. And what I learned, the reason why I received those kind of beatings every time I entertained the notion of getting in the ring is because I never gave the recovery, or should I say my addiction, the time, attention, or respect it deserved. I always fast-tracked the process, therefore I got fast kind of results. So finally, the appropriate amount of pain was delivered to allow me to do what I had never done before, which is sit my fast ass still long enough to connect with a group of people to say, you know what, I can't do this, but clearly you can, because every time I come back and ask for help, you're here. It's like the furniture. You don't go. And the craziest thing happened. My life started to get really good really quick. And I was able to see that the common denominator in every one of my problems was me. And if I just got the fuck out of my way long enough to admit that what I did know is that I had no idea, I might stand a chance at staying sober till tomorrow. So the concierge bring my belongings back down to the front desk. I'm now in a cab from the hotel to the airport, and I'm flying back to Philly because Finland is my problem. Refuse to accept responsibilities for my actions and behaviors because I don't understand yet at this point in my life that I have this alcoholic brain. And my alcoholic brain, the disease that I've been diagnosed with, it makes me think differently. I act and react to this weird thing called life differently than others that don't have the disease that I possess. And what my brain's job is to do is to deflect, to justify, and minimize the severity of my drinking and drugging at all costs. Its job is to protect and tell me that things really aren't as bad as they may appear to be, that yes, I'm back in the joint, but this is just a fucking overreaction, CO. That's what my alcoholic brain's job is to do. Right? It's not like your voice appears in my head and it says, Novak, you're good. You're no longer an alcoholic. And I can be like, you, stranger danger. It's my fucking voice that screams to me 24/7, and it makes me believe the unbelievable. And what its job is to do is to disconnect me from reality, separate me from solution, tell me that I don't need those weird people in recovery. I don't even like those weird people in recovery. They don't even like me. I don't even know this man. That's the extent to which my alcoholic brain will come up with to create a disconnection between me and solution. The abnormal becomes the normal, and the more that I disconnect, I isolate, I disassociate, and now I really believe it. And the reason why is because Brandon only attends Brandon's Anonymous. Brandon only sponsors Brandon. And Brandon is by all means Brandon's God. And when I do those three things, it's not a matter of if, but when my history repeats itself. And I don't know about you, but I've done this dance long enough to where I got to this place in life where A, I got tired of my own voice, and B, I couldn't even sell this own shit to me anymore, which was the biggest problem of it all. Because I navigated through life for so long believing that you see, no one in the world knew that I had a problem but me. And then I fucked around and found out that everyone in the world knew that I had a problem but me. I know. May 25th, 2015, about 2 more weeks until, maybe 3 more weeks until that date comes, I'll be celebrating 11 years of continuous sobriety. What I've learned throughout my journey, and I have a much larger part of my story that I'm sorry, I just do not have time to get into, so I got to bring it to the end. What I've learned throughout my journey is that the disease of addiction is not a death sentence. Your history does not have to dictate your future, but it can absolutely guide and direct it. As long as you're breathing, it is never too late. I'm going to wrap it up right here. 9 months into my process of sobriety, I got a day pass and I was able to go back and visit my mother in Baltimore. The very same woman that bought me a plot. The very same woman that took life insurance policies out on me. The very same woman that served me with a restraining order. The very same woman that sold 3 homes to pay for me to go to 2 different treatment centers. The very same woman that walked across the street to church, got on her knees and prayed to God, please God, cure him or kill him because I can't take this anymore. 9 months into my process of sobriety, I went back to Baltimore and I visited her and she said, Brandon, I hate when you come back to see me. And I said, why? And she said, because I get so sad when you leave. 2 months shy of my 2-year sober anniversary, I signed my release papers. You see, I had been on parole and probation from 18 to 38, never a free day in between. It simply tailed me from state to state to state to state. 2 months shy of my 2-year anniversary, I signed my release papers, meaning that I'm a free person. For my 2-year anniversary, I went to Paris to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting and picked up my 2-year medallion. For my 3rd year anniversary, I bought a home. My 4th year anniversary, I went to Amsterdam to an AA meeting and got my 4-year medallion. Most people do not equate Amsterdam and recovery. But the truth of the matter is I'm a free man that can go anywhere with anybody, anytime I like, because I understand, but more importantly, accept that I suffer with a disease called alcoholism, not alcoholism. And I cannot stay sober on yesterday's sobriety. Meaning that if I do today what I did yesterday, odds are I'll wake up tomorrow a sober man. On my 5th year anniversary, I bought a home that I turned into one men's sober living house called Novak's house in Wilmington, Delaware. Fast forward to today, there's 7 of those houses with 70 beds, and I've literally given my life to helping people who are where I once was. 3 years ago, I decided that I was going to open up a drug and alcohol treatment center called Redemption Addiction Treatment Center. 2 years ago, I opened up the second. God willing, the 25th of May, 2026, I'll be celebrating 11 years of continuous sobriety. I'm going to close with this story before these CEOs get so annoyed with me going over that they take me back to the block with you. I don't like you all that much. I don't want to hang that long. Check this out. There's this father, and he works from home, and he's swamped with paperwork, right? He's swamped with paperwork, and he's watching his kid. And his kid keeps banging his dad on the knee. Dad, take me out to play. Take me out to play. Father, completely overwhelmed with all the work at hand that needs to be finished, trying to think of a way to distract that kid. The father walks into his office, and in his office on his desk is a big picture of a puzzle of a world map. And the father thinks to himself, I got it. He completely dismantles that picture of the puzzle of the world map. He throws it on the floor in hundreds of pieces. He says, son, when you put that picture of the puzzle of the world map back together, I'll take you out to play. Father leaving that office, surely thinking he bought 4 days, no questions asked. Not even 2 hours later, that kid comes back. Hey, Dad, I did it. Dad, I did it. Banging him on the knee. Dad looks at him and says, impossible. Impossible. Dad walks back into that office. As sure as the day is long, the picture of the puzzle of the world maps put back together. Father, in complete disbelief, says, son, how did you do it? Son, how did you do it? Son looked at Dad and just laughed. He said, Dad, it was so simple. Dad, it was so simple. You see, this thing of ours called recovery is a very simple program designed for overly complicated people. He said, Dad, it was so simple. You see, Dad, on the back of the picture of that puzzle of the world map was a picture of a man. Well, Dad, I put the picture of the man back together and the world fell back in place. Together we stand, divided, I don't stand a fucking chance. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Brandon Novak. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate that, man. Yes, sir. Hey, y'all want to give him another round of applause? Man. That was special. That was very special. Y'all, let's give Mr. Novak one more round of applause. Thank you, brother, for coming out. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate it. God bless.
Thank you. God bless you too, brother. Yep.